The dust settles, the rumbling's roar has subsided, but its reverberations linger on. Paradise stands in ruins, rebuilding but marred, while the rest of the world finds itself in utterly abysmal conditions. After the apocalypse, one question hangs: does Revelation free us, or merely show us the chains? This is part 4, After the Fall, where we step into the wreckage, probing with ReneGirard's thought whether transcendence may arise from unveiled violence, or if the cycle binds us still. Attackontitan refuses to give an easy answer. There is no blind hope nor absolute despair. Instead, there is a sharp and genuine ambivalence. We've witnessed Eren chase freedom, an emulated dream that was realized into a nightmare. The rumbling tore the veil, rendering monarchs, titans, and borders equals under its trample. Still, the same patterns emerge and persist after the fall. We're in a world laid bare. The structures that upheld the world have been torn down, its myths undone. The world needs a story, something to believe in, to give it sustenance, to face the day hoping for a better tomorrow. Is the new world going to shed the injustices of the old one? Will a new narrative lift it out of the cycles of violence, or will it stay trapped into its vortex? Nations are rebuilding, but a shadow of war creeps back. What is needed is to transcend the system altogether, but how can one escape its gravitational pull when one is stranded? Many ambitious solutions are devised with the goal of gaming the system rather than transcending it. Though Mikasa's act of unselfish love comes closest to stepping out, and indeed achieves a yearn for truce, it is no final resolution. That is the human condition. First, we'll take a step back to before the rumbling was enacted, as we see two distinct cults with different eschatological pursuits but yet mirrors of each other, Yelena and the Jaegerists, both devout followers of the Yeager brothers. The challenge of transcendence is complicated not only by the lack of a guiding figure, but also by the false prophets who emerge in the void left by failing institutions. Some believe an ancient seductive lie, one final act of violence that will solve everything. Redemptive violence is the belief that bloodshed can cleanse, and that the appropriate sacrifice can save humanity. The tale exposes this deception through characters who preach redemption while quickening the downward spiral. Yelena is the quintessential high priestess of the sacrificial faith. Her devotion to Zeke elevates him from military commander to messianic figure. Her eyes genuinely shimmer with religious fervor when she gazes at him. To me, it wasn't a devil but a god. He gave us hope when we were at our weakest, she says of Zeke, her voice trembling with reverence. She exemplifies Girard's observation that sacrificial victims are often deified. Their power to restore order through death elevates them from scapegoats to sacred figures. To her, Zeke is the god meant to save the world, the ultimate pharmacon. Her declarations evoke philosopher Martin Heidegger's famous lament, "Only a god can save us now." The notion that human issues have outgrown human remedies. Both acknowledge that the crisis is too deep for conventional solutions. Hers is more than just loyalty, it is worship complete with the ecstatic glow of someone who feels she has witnessed divine revelation. She isn't a cynic, she truly recognizes the catastrophic cycles of violence that have enslaved humanity for centuries. When she declares with chilling conviction, violence is the only thing you can take from humanity, she echoes Girard's most pessimistic insights about our nature. Her diagnosis is eerily accurate. Our goal is to sever the chain of hatred that ties down the world. She sees the problem with devastating precision. However, it's only partial insight. Her pitfall is displayed when she advocates for Zeke's euthanasia plan without considering its moral basis. Her solution demands embracing the sacrificial system, what she portrays as mercy as genocide in slow motion. This duality is what makes Yelena so haunting. She understands the cyclical nature of violence more clearly than almost anybody, but her proposed remedy is completely grounded in that cycle. It's not about living in comfort, it's about how we die. A sentence that wonderfully conveys her fatalistic acceptance of violence's inevitability while still attempting to transcend it. Zeke, elevated to divine status in Yelena's eyes, becomes the ultimate embodiment of how modern societies disguise sacrificial violence, clinical procedure as sacred ritual. Yelena's veneration lifts his scientific approach into something quasi-religious, creating a mystical aura around what is essentially a technical solution, thus revealing how even the most analytical answers to violence still carry sacrificial roots. The Jaegerists represent a starker variant of the same impulse. Where Yelena maintains moral pretense, they embrace a ruthless realpolitik, viewing violence as unavoidable and necessary. Phlox, their de facto leader after Eren, doesn't disguise his intentions behind any veneer of mercy, declaring, "If Eren dies, Paradise will sink under a sea of blood. The entire world will take vengeance on us. Your parents, your siblings, your children, they'll all be slaughtered. Dedicate your hearts." They reflect back to the rest of the world, particularly Marley, the same ruthlessness that they've been shown. All nations want to see them exterminated, their people wiped off the face of the earth. The Jaegerists realize the role as world scapegoat Eldia has been assigned to by the international system and thoroughly refuse it by using brute force to become its new administrators. When Flock executes a volunteer and tells the others to submit or die, we see vengeful violence stripped of all pretense. The Jaegerists embrace brutality without pretense while justifying it through desperate circumstances. Its us or them becomes their mantra, a rational calculus. It is preferable to inflict violence than to be the victim of it. Neither Yelena nor the Jaegerists believe they can put an end to all violence. They are well aware of its enduring nature. They aim to restructure power by taking decisive action, attempting to master it. Eren, however, doesn't just embrace violence like the Jaegerists. He weaponizes his own victimhood. When he confesses to Armin, "I wanted to make you into heroes," we witness his premeditated reversal of conventional scapegoating, casting himself as the final monster. His sacrificial thinking turned inside out. The victim picks his part and inverts it, orchestrates his own exclusion, and claims complete autonomy. Zeke believes he can analyze the system from above, detecting patterns that others overlook. Eren delves deeply into it, immersing himself in the past and manipulating from within. One rises above, the other dives in, but both are caught. What makes these false prophets so compelling and dangerous is that each contains a portion of actual truth. This entrenches them deeper into the sacrificial mentality. The Yeager brothers' opposing visions operate on fundamentally opposite moral scales. Zeke's interest is in abstract humanity. He willingly sacrifices particular individuals, slaughtering thousands who stand in the way of what he sees as the universal good. His clinical detachment is what enables him to quantify misery. Eren completely reverses this equation, destroying the overwhelming majority of humanity for the benefit of his closest relationships. Eren sees faces whereas Zeke sees statistics. Both viewpoints lead them to unimaginable atrocities. Armin stands between these two extremes, attempting a more balanced approach. His interaction with both brothers reveal a mentality that values immediate human connection without abandoning broader humanitarian concerns. Armin's rational mind combined with his childhood memories leads him to a middle ground. His diplomatic efforts following the rumbling continue this balancing act, but as we'll see, even this strategy can't completely break the pattern. Every false prophet promises salvation through destruction in a different guise. But the cycle doesn't end through perfecting violence, it requires something altogether different. A possibility these prophets cannot conceive from within the sacrificial framework. Attack on Titan's world is entirely missing such a figure. Transcendence, according to Girard, requires someone to lead the way, a model who reveals the sacrificial trap without getting entangled by its logic. His key influence, Christianity, gives us Jesus Christ, the Redeemer who despite his innocence assumes the role of the scapegoat and breaks its mechanism from within. Attack on Titan doesn't have that, no savior who brings about a final resolution. For Girard, Christ's crucifixion signifies the crucial revelation in human history, that's revelation of the sacrificial system itself. Christ demonstrates how scapegoating works while abstaining to participate in its vengeance. He disrupts the cycle and turns it from a wheel to a spiral, counterintuitively sending it into overdrive. In contrast, Eren's sacrifice conceals and perpetuates the mechanism rather than exposing it. His assumed role as monster and his death don't alter the world's understanding of violence, but simply redirect it and provide a fleeting truce. In Girardian apocalyptic thought, the Antichrist is not merely the opposite of Christ, but his mimetic rival, a counterfeit savior who appropriates the language of revelation only to reinforce the sacrificial order. Attack on Titan lacks a true Christ figure, but it teams with Antichrist-like figures. Eren's despairing fatalism, Zeke's intellectual hubris, and even Armin, whose well-intentioned idealism we'll later examine. Each offers a vision that appears to transcend violence while perfecting its execution. Their tragedy is in complicity as they become architects of the prison of which they are inmates. This captures perfectly what we've called the unfinished apocalypse, and why the events in Attack on Titan are more akin to the flood myths found worldwide than to the biblical apocalypse. In Girardian thought, the crucifixion's exposure of the sacrificial mechanism doesn't immediately end it, but it intensifies it by making traditional containment ineffective. The rumbling instead is a washing away of the old world, but with no enlightenment to carry into the new one. The story's ambivalence, its refusal to crown a messiah or condemn a definitive villain, mirrors our own historical moment, where enemies are cycled faster than our ability to clearly define them. Both our world and Attack on Titans now exist in this uncertain time between revelation and resolution, where Girard's paradigm anticipates the apocalypse as the final rupture that will redeem history. Isayama's world waits only for the cycle to renew itself. The Christian story moves toward an ending. Attack on Titans merely circles back to its beginning. The rumbling's flawed revelation festers and generates a fertile environment for the accusatory mechanism to mutate and flourish. Seeds are sown for the next iteration to take root. So we're in a state of limbo, a time between times. The apocalypse is only half finished and redemption feels out of reach. All we get is a flood that restarts the world. The struggle extends beyond the absence of a savior. The titan power that for centuries held the world captive emerges from the depths, a parasite that is ancient and subterranean, coiling up in the dark waters as though it is an integral part of the planet itself, seeking to enmesh life like a chthonic root. This biological origin indicates an essential fact about Attack on Titan's world. Its systems emerge from within the very fabric of existence. The parasite, the source of all organic matter, reflects the materialist vision of desire and violence, perceiving these impulses as inherent aspects of being rather than spiritual corruptions. This is violence as a cybernetic feedback loop, a self-perpetuating system that consumes, adapts, but never truly transcends. The past dimension portrays this feedback system. What appears to be a sublime realm with gleaming branches stretching skyward remains rooted in biological imperatives. The tree at its center represents the entanglement. Its roots and branches form a closed circuit from which there is no escape. All paths lead back to the same source, and all solutions operate within the same framework. Like with the false prophets we've seen, the system reproduces itself through attempts at escape. The parasite that binds Ymir to the Titans expresses sheer immanence, biological, corporeal, a knot of flesh spinning cycles onward. Unlike religious faith or philosophies that point to higher principles, the worm represents a closed loop. It offers no exit because it's purely self-referential, presenting only infinite repetitions of the same underlying pattern. Whereas transcendence would necessitate a break beyond the system, the subterranean source only provides variations within. This telluric entrapment is most evident in the mechanism of Titan inheritance, the consumption of spinal fluid, the ingestion of matter, and the act of incorporating a dark Eucharist. The materialist nature of the system renders it uniquely resistant to transcendence. Any attempted solution only manifests as a new repetition of the same fundamental issue. Eren, suspended in his Titan form, understands the pattern more clearly than anyone else, but knowing the system does not free you. Without transcendence, without some intervention from outside the system's logic, enlightenment and awareness just serve as loops in the circuit. So we're caught in a tough predicament. The knowledge that biological and mimetic systems like the Titan curse can only reproduce themselves in different configurations. The road beyond would require something the world of Attack on Titan sorely lacks, an intervention from above rather than below. However, as shown in part 3, we see glimpses of it, like the mutual recognition among former adversaries. Now we're getting into what could be the most significant acts of the entire drama. Let's go back to a pivotal moment during the Battle of Heaven and Earth. While the great clash at Fort Salt is raging, a quieter struggle is going on the paths. A battle of the minds in which Armin has to confront Zeke's deterministic worldview. Zeke Yeager, trapped for what feels like an eternity, lays bare his cold conclusion. All living beings evolve solely to pass their genes on through reproduction and multiplication. It's the end point of a reductionist lens, one that has justified all the horrors he committed for the greater good. Armin responds by pointing something beyond Zeke's mechanistic vision. Maybe the reason I was born was so that the three of us could be racing there. His words pierce the sterile landscape. Where Zeke sees simply survival, Armin sees something more, and Zeke is thunderstruck. His comfortable determinism, subtly insufficient. More than mere sentiment, Armin points to experiences that defy utility. Sharing ice cream, running in a field with friends. These hold no evolutionary edge, no direct survival benefit. They're gratuitous, valuable for what they are. Zeke, contrary to his own logic, grasps this, because he too once knew such a moment. Playing catch with Tom Saber, the one thing he cherished above all, its memory of the last refuge of this broken humanity. Those were the only times he was valued as a person, not a tool, a sharp contrast to his father's instrumentalizing treatment of him. Now this buried memory subverts Zeke's Darwinian worldview. The man who reduced populations to biological equations is undone by the emotional truth of simple human connection. When Armin's recollections of similar joys resonate with Zeke's own, they awaken the stifled part of him, pulling him from nihilism into a pivotal role in halting Eren's advance. In his final moments, instead of pursuing destruction, he chooses to give up his life for others. In Girardian terms, these experiences slip past their cycle of desire, want, gain, lose, repeat, a joy that stands outside rivalry's grasp. This interaction marks one of the story's few instances where an object mediates desire without sparking conflict. Unlike the series' triangular rivalries, like the vicious race for the founding titan, the baseball becomes a conduit for mutual recognition. Tom and Zeke don't desire the ball itself, but the relationship it symbolizes. In a narrative drowning in destructive conflict, this exchange stands apart. Tom neither keeps it for himself nor exploits it for ulterior motives. They toss it back and forth, creating a circuit of care from stepfather to stepson and back. When Armin resurrects this memory, he doesn't just remind Zeke of joy, but he offers a glimpse of how mimetic relationships can heal rather than enslave and destroy. However, this fragile connection was doomed from the start. Mimesis isn't inevitably bound to fail, but the world is always ready to devour. Zeke didn't merely lose Tom, he was forced to literally eat the one person who treated him with care. This reduced their bond to fuel for the war machine. Is it any wonder he retreated into cold abstraction? His analytical mindset wasn't just philosophy, but the armor of a man whose sole experience of unconditional connection ended in cannibalism. Still, the embers of that memory survived. Instead of logic and reasoning, his usual tools, Armin rekindles them by sharing his own vulnerable moments. In doing so, he proves that Zeke's nihilism wasn't caused by the failure of human connection, but by its merciless suppression. These joyful moments defy the story's rhythm. From the cervicore marches to Eren's rumbling, every act is framed as necessity. Armin's memories disrupt this by pointing to choices free of obligation, treasured for their own sake. These gaps in the machine hint at a meaning no system can cage. Armin punctures it. Why does ice cream matter? Not for utility, but for the sheer fact of being shared, a delight biology can't entirely explain, a window to something greater. Yet when Armin faces Eren in the past, this insight reveals its limits. While shared memories pierce Zeke's nihilism, they falter against Eren's deeper entanglement. Armin tries, but words fail to break the cycle. The leap from understanding to transformation proves too great. Bertolt's ghost is still haunting him. Once again, at the apex of the battle between heaven and earth, in the mouth of Eren's founding titan, beats the crucial choice that seals the story, the act that will append the hourglass of the current age. Mikasa kills Eren, freeing Ymir from millennia of bondage, a resolution that unravels a cosmic knot. Mikasa is bound by an unconditional love that is free of possession, echoing the Buddhist doctrine of non-attachment, karuna, compassion, free of tana, craving. She is the girl who's always looked after Eren, the boy who keeps getting into trouble. Her commitment to him is unwavering, even after his death, even after she kills him. The act of severing his life was done to free her loved one from the chains that held him enslaved. It's the act she needed to commit to demonstrate that the fullest expression of love sometimes requires letting go. Ymir observes this scene. Having been bound for millennia by her own possessive servitude to King Fritz, she needs to see love transcending possession instead of just rejecting violence. As incomprehensible as it may appear to others, Ymir's devotion to King Fritz was genuine, yet she knows this to be the source of her bondage as well as of the agony infecting the world. But she doesn't know how to detach herself from the one she loves. She begs for guidance. For 2,000 years, she continued to assemble titan bodies for wars she had no stake in. Girard might see this as the ultimate internalization of victimhood, identifying so thoroughly with one's sacrificial duty that freedom becomes unimaginable. This is why Mikasa's model is vital. Ymir needs more than just liberation. She needs to see a new pattern of desire. Until then, her curse is partially self-sustained, a victim who can't envisage life beyond her cage. Mikasa gives Ymir just this model, someone from her own lineage, showing her how to shatter those chains. Her blade cuts what Ymir couldn't alone. Girard understood that imitation is more than just a trap, it is how we learn, how we elevate ourselves. Ymir, locked in possessive desire, witnesses Mikasa renouncing but not abandoning her love. The Titans vanish and a glimmer of freedom shines through the curse. This watershed event was seeded years ago. Mikasa's act of mercy mirrors Eren's very first gesture of compassion towards her at the beginning of their story, when he draped his red scarf around her neck after her parents' murder. He gave genuine care, asking nothing in return. Years later, at the end of their story, Mikasa closes the circle by granting Eren the same essential mercy, release from suffering without expectation. What starts with Eren wrapping warmth around the shivering girl concludes with Mikasa freeing him from his monstrous form. Both acts take place during moments of severe vulnerability, and both favor compassion and caring above utility. Eren is in a way saved by the echo of his initial act of kindness, which returns to him through Mikasa's hands. Ymir's witnessing of this noble gesture completes the picture and liberates the entire Eldian people from the aeons-long curse. The red scarf Mikasa continues to wear even after Eren's death symbolizes this unbroken connection, a thread of positive mimesis that saves the world. This liberation, however profound, differs from what Girard identified in the Christ revelation, where Christ's sacrifice publicly exposed the arbitrary nature of scapegoating for all to see. Mikasa's act remains a private revelation, visible only to Ymir in the past dimension. The wider world experiences the consequences. Titans vanish, powers dissolve, but not the revolutionary act that generated them. Her intervention disrupts one chain of possession without fully revealing the mechanics. Thus the break is not final. Violence endures after the cut, and the wheel holds. According to Girard, Christ's revelation does not stop violence, but rather profoundly alters it. By exposing the scapegoat mechanism, it renders its process increasingly useless, while conversely intensifying violence that can no longer be funneled and vented through ritual outlets, eventually culminating in a final revelation, true apocalypse with a second coming. The main story's arc is now complete, and the world faces the challenges of a new era, an era without titans but not without strife. Armin emerges as a leading figure in navigating this new territory that beneath its surface bears all too familiar traits. Following the rumbling, Armin continues to put his diplomatic skills to use. Adopting the mantle of ambassador, he becomes what we might label a keeper of myth, one who shapes how past events are remembered and interpreted. His peace talks represent reason's attempt to deal with disaster, to bridge gaps where walls once stood, and to foster mutual aid. He refers to Eren as the villain that he defeated, crafting a narrative that unites former foes, framing history to serve peace. The mediator, molding collective memory rather than merely recording it. After the rumbling, Eren's motivations remain ambiguous to most. His closest friends are aware of the nuances, yet participate in the narrative Eren engineered. This is a cruel twist of fate, as by portraying Eren as the defeated enemy of the world, Armin upholds the system he might have dismantled. Without the complete revelation of the scapegoat's innocence, the cycle continues unabated. The mechanism endures because its workings remain partly concealed, allowing new scapegoats to take on Eren's role over time. Irony permeates throughout this, as Armin echoes the mythmakers he opposed. Like the Tiber's historical revisionism and Karl Fritz's memory manipulation, he constructs a unifying myth, Eren as the enemy of mankind, and the Eldians oppose him as saviors. Its history rhyming, representing the myth of Helos, a tale fabricated by Marley of a hero that supposedly defeated the devil of all Earth. Both myths transform complex historical events into simplified stories of good triumphing evil, obscuring the great truths that hindered their political goals. Meanwhile, Paradise counters with its own version, Eren as martyr, the ones who stopped them as treacherous villains. The very people who are saviors for the rest of the world become banished scapegoats in their homeland. Their exile demonstrates how the scapegoat mechanism is persisting after the rumbling, two opposing narratives from a single event, each strengthening their respective communities' cohesion. These competing mythologies form the double helix of the post-rumbling world, turning upon the same axis. History reconfigures the pre-world world's binary of Eldians as devils versus Eldians as victims, with Eren at its center, devil god for some, martyr god for others. The dialectical rotation of history's DNA, with each new spiral echoing the previous turn while appearing to advance. Locked in a yin-yang dance, each strand holds the complementary code to its counterpart, creating the illusion of progress. The same twisted spiral that once harbored the parasite now manifests in how nations remember the rumbling, twin narratives coiling around a violent core, Eren's legacy perpetuating the curse through myth rather than flesh. Some argue that Armin narrates the entire story, and his perspective shapes what we witness throughout. He forgets certain details, such as the color of Eren's eyes, suggesting memory distortion. This unreliability is not coincidental. History is written by those who have survived violence, not by its victims. Armin becomes the custodian not only of peace, but also of the tale itself. The story altered, consciously or unconsciously, to fulfill present needs. The events will be remembered through Armin's words, a mythmaker's rendition of the apocalypse, tailored to those who must survive its fallout and unite them under a new consensus. He knows the truth, but cannot deliver it, as he is still bound to the rules of the world. This contradiction reflects our own societal double-bind. Armin promotes a narrative of global cooperation through mutual agreement, while relying on the scapegoating of Eren to maintain order. He crafts a story where nations can freely choose peace, yet this freedom depends on concealing the great truth of Eren's motivations. Modern liberal democracies operate on a similar tension, proclaiming Rousseauian ideals of autonomy while practicing obscene control. The diplomat like Armin must sustain the story of freedom while navigating the constraints of reality, knowing that peace requires myth as much as it requires the full truth to remain hidden. Armin emerges as another tragic figure. He sees the way, those ephemeral joys that lie beyond greedy possession, but he remains mired in the web of myth-making and scapegoating. He's no breaker of cycle, no messianic figure, but only a pragmatist who reduces suffering and does what best he can within the limitations he faces. Armin now sees Bertolt fully. As peace talks proceed, Paradis prepares for war. Mikasa broke a chain through decisive action, but Armin's legacy provides only transient bridges, connections that span divides but cannot eradicate the ancient patterns. After Eren's death, Mikasa lovingly carries his severed head back to where the story began. She buries him in their hometown of Shiganshina, beneath the lonely tree, their childhood's landmark. Before that day, the iconic place of his awakening from slumber marks his final rest. The tree above Eren's remains stands as the ultimate symbol of Attackontitan's mythic structure, a living axis connecting physical violence and metaphysical desire. It also functions as the narrative's central organizing principle, linking the beginning of the Titan curse to its apparent end and inevitable rebirth. In both physical reality and the ethereal past dimension, the tree serves simultaneously as conduit and prison, hiding the parasite in the material world while anchoring the web of connections that binds all Eldians across time. This dual nature reveals that the patterns governing humans are not merely social constructs, but fundamental structures of reality, recurring forms that manifest from the cellular to the cosmic, instilling mimetic desire into the very architecture of existence. The Titan tree synthesizes two primordial myths: the Norse Yggdrasil and the biblical tree of the knowledge of good and evil, each illuminating different aspects of Attack on Titan's cyclical violence. It connects different dimensions, just as the Norse world tree links the 9 realms of existence. Similar to the Norse, embodiments of past, present, and future who carve fate into Yggdrasil's trunk, Ymir in the past weaves the whole of Eldian history into a single knot, where the future determines the past. Yggdrasil sustained cosmic order while harboring its own destruction, the draconic Nidogger, who like an entropic force gnaws eternally at its roots. So the Titan tree both structures Eldian society and shelters the creature that drags it to ruin. Both trees reflect mimetic desires contrasting in nature. The same force that structures human society also carries the germs of its undoing. The echo of the Tree of Knowledge from Genesis is equally powerful, serving as a threshold to irreversible awakening. Eden's tree catalyzed humanity's fall through mimetic desire. The promise of the fruit that grants godlike knowledge led to the separation of humans from divine communion. Similarly to Eve, Ymir's encounter beneath the twisted tree bestows power but imposes a curse upon her offspring. Both trees offer a boon that simultaneously enlightens and poisons. While the biblical story casts humanity into linear time with the possibility of atonement, the parasite's power collapses time into recursion, condemning each generation to replay Ymir's trauma without the prospect of reconciliation. Coiled beneath the Titan tree, another powerful cosmic symbol takes material form: the Serpentine parasite. A shape-shifting creature echoing both the biblical Satan and Jormungandr from Norse myth, like the world serpent encircling Midgard and biting its own tail. The parasite perpetuates a cycle of violence that both governs and threatens the world. And just as Jormungandr's release heralds Ragnarok, the parasite's might unleashed delivers a fiery flood, the rumbling that exposes sacred lies. What makes this synthesis so potent is how it captures both cyclical and linear time. Like Yggdrasil, which endures Ragnarok as a constant around which destruction and renewal revolve, the parasite tree persists across millennia. And like the Tree of Knowledge, which altered humanity's relationship with time by introducing mortality, each interaction of the parasite tree continues to attract the innocent into generations of suffering, waiting for new hands to reach for its power. Girard saw the Edenic Serpent as the first mediator of desire, the prince of this world, not only as a rebellious spirit, but also as the scapegoating mechanism that rules earthly existence. "You shall be as gods," the serpent whispered to Adam and Eve, the same deceptive promises of power, transcendence and freedom that lurk behind the parasite's gift to Ymir. Satan is a title and it means adversary or accuser, and indeed, the parasite condemned all of Ymir's descendants to generations of scorn, being accused of a monstrosity. This hexed heritage turns Ymir's bloodline into both monsters and scapegoats, dreaded for their power, yet hated for possessing it. The parasite's boon demands blood sacrifices in order to continue to exist, which are accomplished through an inverted Saturnian consumption, with children devouring their parents to preserve it. Eren and Ymir, Adam and Eve, what promised liberation delivered only chains for them and their people. The final scene carries profound symbolism. Beneath the massive tree lies Eren's skull, buried by Mikasa aeons before. This image evokes an ancient myth. In early Christian lore, Adam's skull rests beneath Golgotha, also called Calvary, a name that translates to the place of the skull, the hill of the crucifixion. The very wood of Christ's cross is said to come from the Tree of Knowledge, some traditions even linking it to Noah's Ark. What caused the fall became the instrument for salvation. Attack on Titan flips this pattern, where Adam's skull marks redemption, Eren's resting place in paradise marks, at least for the time being, condemnation. The tree that grew above it doesn't break the cycle, it prepares for a new iteration. The Christian story progresses from garden to cross to New Jerusalem, from fall to redemption. Attack on Titans loops back. The tree that cradled Eren's sleep during his childhood's walled garden now guards his skull, ready to birth new cycles of the same violence. In Girard's framework, Eren represents a failed second Adam, where Christ's sacrifice revealed the scapegoat mechanism and offered true transcendence. Eren's self-sacrifice only perpetuates the cycle. He isn't a redeemer. His self-sacrifice doesn't reveal the lie of scapegoating, but plants it deeper, lying in wait like a seed. Eren's skull now nourishes a new tree, finding its time in the soil and anticipating another innocent hand to reach for its fruit. Girard's hope for transcendence relies on, borrowing from Tolkien, a eucatastrophe, that is, a providential divine intervention, such as Christ's incarnation on Earth and subsequent descent into Hades, to pierce death and then rise up. Or Bilbo's mercy on Gollum that led to the destruction of the Ring of Power. In Attack on Titan, the story's darkest truth is that the failed savior becomes the catalyst for the return of the same. As we approach the conclusion, one thread has remained a constant and subtle presence throughout this tale. The red scarf traces the pull of desire throughout Attack on Titan, from beginning to end and beyond. Girard defined desire as mimetic, originating from others and persisting over time. The scarf illustrates that pattern, a constant that endures even after its original bearers are gone. It discovers new vessels, perpetuating its journey. The scarf serves as a visual constant, from Eren draping it around Mikasa to her final vigil at his grave. Its crimson presence signifies continuity amid chaos, a palpable link between critical moments that might otherwise seem disconnected, the thread tying their story from its start to its very end. This red fabric binds the story's most significant moments of both compassion and sacrifice. When Eren first wrapped it around Mikasa after her parents' murder, it was a gesture of pure kindness, asking nothing in return. Years later, that same scarf hung around her neck as she delivered Eren from his monstrous form, an act of mercy that mirrored his original compassion. Or maybe her act of mercy was the catalyst for Eren's gesture in the past. This cycle of non-possessing love, as witnessed by Ymir, finally broke the curse. The scarf connects these moments in time, forming a loop of true care. A millennium past those fateful days, a boy wearing a red scarf just like the one Eren once gave Mikasa nears the tree. What began with Ymir's fall is ready to repeat. This doesn't just echo Mikasa's and Eren's journey. The boy is approaching the same threshold between worlds that has defined the entire story. The scarf, a symbol of personal connection, now reveals Desire's ability to transcend space and time. Though the Titan curse ended, the patterns driving it continue. The series closes in this suspended moment at the verge of another fateful encounter. Attack on Titan shows us how desire drives us across the ages, and the scarf is the red thread we follow to trace that weaving path, generations upon generations knitting the same patterns. The story ends, but questions linger. Attack on Titan ends on a delicate note, hopeful realism, neither victory nor loss. We watch the passage of time, and the settlement of the Titan curse has not resulted in perpetual peace. Those powers did not corrupt humanity, they only intensified what was already there. The post-rumbling truce was short-lived. Peace negotiations failed while arsenals grew, and later the bombings began. After more destruction, nature returns and swallows the dilapidated constructions of man, and another garden is sprouted upon the remains. The rumbling stripped away old myths, but without transcendence, humanity reverted to the same rivalries. The true curse was never just the Titans, but the patterns we keep repeating. Attack on Titan offers no redemptive grace. The boy with the red scarf doesn't walk towards a kingdom of heaven. He steps towards that same tree, the same parasite, the same temptation for power that began it all. Cycles reinforce themselves across time, recreating a loop where desire engineers its own origins. Freedom becomes not just difficult but logically impossible. How do you break a chain that secures its own forging? Could a true savior break this? Not Eren, trapped in despair, nor Zeke rejecting life. A savior would stand outside Ouroboros' wheel, free from desire's chains, yet going inside, choosing love. They'd unravel violence without weaving more. Attack on Titan gives us only echoes, yet echoes matter. Perhaps most tellingly, Isayama himself seems to have fallen under the spell of the very forces he depicted. His own confession that he could envision no other ending for his tale suggests the creator's pen was just as bound to these unfolding of events as Eren was to enact them. The storyteller who explored cycles of violence found himself unable to escape the pull of the patterns he was portraying. This reveals that mimetic cycles capture not only those within the story, but even those who dare to tell it. A final demonstration of mimetic desire reaching beyond fiction into the very act of creation. We map the trail that Hajime Isayama masterfully laid, illuminated by ReneGirard's unique sensibilities, like a lamp in the dark. Though a fictional work, Attack on Titan functions like a great myth, not merely entertaining, but capturing timeless patterns that shed light on our own world. Like ancient tales of floods and falls, it speaks to something persistent beneath the surface, those archetypal struggles that recur within our hearts and across cultures and eras. Its power lies in recognizing eternal human truths, our capacity for both tremendous violence and remarkable grace, rendered visible through extraordinary circumstances. The boy moves forward, red scarf around his neck. This isn't blind hope or despair, it's the weight of knowing. As Mikasa once said, the world is cruel, and it's also very beautiful. Attack on Titan leaves us here, between myths and cycles, between beauty and terror.